Hello, everyone. This is Mary Lunetta with the Sierra Club. I'm sorry for starting a few moments late. We had some technical difficulties, and we're waiting for one of our presenters to join. So we're just going to go ahead and start 5 minutes after the hour. So we're going to give it an extra 2 minutes. So just sit tight. Thank you for your patience.
And Mary, I'm going to dial in one more time. So just a heads up if you can't hear me.
Okay. Thanks, Kylie. That's Kylie with Plug in America, everyone.
I'm still not seeing visual, correct?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, you should be able to see. Everyone should be able to see.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go ahead and mute you, Regine, until later in the presentation when we bring you back on. While everyone is waiting, I just want to bring your attention to the sidebar. There is an area where you can ask questions. It's right under questions. It's a pull down menu. So if you click it, then you should be able to type in a question. Right there, there's a box right there. And you can do that at any point in our presentation. So if you have a question, you'll need to hold on to it till the very end when we have our Q&A. You can just type it right there. And there's also an area underneath questions called polls. And we are going to, I don't actually know if you can see that part. Maybe that's only something I can see as the organizer, but we're gonna do something we've never done before. So it's gonna be kind of fun to see how this works. We're gonna have a few polls throughout the presentation, and then we'll share the results from the polls to see how everyone answered. And so we're still just waiting on one of our presenters. We will begin very briefly in just a moment, so sit tight. Thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and begin. So again, this is Mary Lunetta with the Sierra Club's Electric Vehicles Initiative. I'm the campaign representative for their national campaign. And I'm joined by my friend Kylie. She is with Kylie Morgan. She's with Plug in America, and we're gonna be co-presenting today on the details on how to organize a really great National Drive Electric Week event for 2018, which this year is September 8th through the 16th. Can you switch slides more, Kylie?
Do you need next slide?
Yeah, can you, next slide, please.
Got it.
Huh. I don't see it.
Sorry, what's the problem?
Is everyone else able to see the next slide, the agenda? Is it just me? I can't see it. I still see the title slide.
Oh, let me try it now.
Perfect. No, now we're a few slides ahead.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, that's it. Cool. Okay, this is our agenda, everyone. Sorry, we have done this before, I promise. Today, this is our agenda. We're going to go over some cool, some goals related to National Drive Electric Week, where we've been, what metrics we've hit in previous years, and where we are aiming to go for this year. And we're going to go over some tips and resources that some are not new. Many of you are familiar with them because you've also been here before and organized these events before, but we also have some new ones as well. And we're going to mention our Model EV Policy Toolkit. You've heard about this as well before, but a new version is coming out tomorrow. And so we wanted to just mention that to you all and how it can actually play a role in your National Drive Electric Week events this year. And then we have some really amazing guest speakers. We have one for sure, not totally sure yet about the second one, but we'll find out. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A at the very end. And again, you can type in your questions on the sidebar for those joining late. On the right-hand side, there is a questions pull-down tab. You just click that, and you can type in your questions at any point. Okay, next slide. All right, so these are your presenters. I'm Mary Lunetta. Oh no, go back. I'm Mary Lunetta with the Sierra Club, and then my friend and associate Kylie Morgan is the Communications Associate with Plug in America. And today we're joined by our guest speakers, Regine Fellows. She is the president of the Electric Auto Association, the third organization that are the national presenters of National Drive Electric Week. And also Patrick Lawson. He is a city captain, an organizer with National Drive Electric Week, and he is the CEO of Wild West EV.
Yeah, and I can actually provide a little more info on him. In his spare time, he does a YouTube show called Tesla Trip, and he actually runs the Wild West EV is a family-owned company that places public EV charging stations around Wyoming.
Oh, that's so cool. Thank you. Okay, so right now we are going to launch a poll and see how this goes. So we are going to see how this goes. I just launched it. Does everyone see this on their window and their screen? The question is, what role do you play in National Drive Electric Week this year? So you can select city captain, a volunteer, you can select attendee, or undecided. Okay, so the poll is still in progress. 44% so far is city captains, 28% volunteers, 8% attendees, and 19% is undecided. Very interesting. We have a majority of city captains. That's pretty exciting. That's so cool. This is fun. We're gonna have 2 more throughout the presentation.
All right, so I'm gonna take it over right here. Yeah, and every year in NDEW, we like to see growth, and we do see growth in the number of events. We have media hits, test drives, and this actually we started tracking public leaders last year, so we're hoping to see growth in that area too. Our goals for 2018 are to have 300 events in 285 cities and 50 states. So we want to, make sure we're hitting 50 states again, just like last year. We also want to hit 800 media hits, 9,000 plus test drives, and we really want to increase the number of attendees. That depends a lot on big events and also the number of events. So, start getting invitations out there early so we can increase attendees this year. And also we want to really include public officials this year, so we're hoping to reach 175 public leaders. Today we have 160 events, which is awesome. Definitely more than we had this time last year, so we're already seeing growth. We do have some missing states, however. We're looking for events from Idaho, Utah, North Dakota, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Mississippi. We are 140 events away from our goal, so help spread the word about NDEW as much as you can to all your friends, anyone who owns an EV or who might be interested in EV. All right, so now I'm going to launch another poll. This one is about if you own an EV or a hybrid car. All right. So I just launched. Go ahead and take a stab at it.
And so what I'm learning while we launch these polls is the audience can only see the poll window or the presentation, not both at once. So that's good to know, which means we should close our polls so that they can see the presentation slide.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, kind of important detail there. GoToWebinar didn't specify that. Now we know. All right, so 78%, 78% of has, yeah, they have an EV or a hybrid. 21% no, can't wait until they do. 93% voted. That's pretty rad. Cool. Thanks everyone for participating. I'm gonna close the poll now.
Thank you so much. All right, going on to next one, NDEW event features. So for anyone who's organizing an event for the first time, these are just some of the elements you can have at your event. It can be as big or as small as you want it to be. One is ride and drives. So you can contact your local dealers to see if they can provide an electric vehicle for people to test drive. A lot of times, some dealers will have 1 or 2 electric vehicles that they're having a lot of trouble selling because most people don't know a lot about EVs. And you can pitch it to them as, you know, this will help get the word out about the EV at your dealership, and you can show it off to potential buyers. You can also ask local EV owners to bring their cars. They can talk about what it's like to be an EV owner, and if they're comfortable with it, they can drive people around in it. Yeah, depending on their insurance, they may not be able to actually allow test drives, you know, unless they're really comfortable with other people driving their car. Also, another cool thing is to have unique cars. So to have really old electric vehicles or EV conversions. Usually the owners obviously know a ton about EVs and love to talk about their vehicle. They're also popular attractions. And another option would be a film viewing or presentation. So a lot of times people will hold panels of EV experts or even EV owners to answer questions to the public. And you can also do a film viewing. So like Who Killed the Electric Car is an EV related film that might be a really cool event element. So another event element is a ribbon cutting ceremony. This is a great way to get public officials involved because they get publicity and they get to show off that they're promoting electric vehicles in their community. What you can do is if you have a new charger that was installed in town or is going to be installed around the time of National Drive Electric Week, you can invite them to maybe, you know, do a ribbon cutting ceremony to officially open the chargers up. They can also announce goals or city initiatives related to electric vehicles to start off your events. Another option is exhibitor booths. So the EV community is much bigger than just the vehicles themselves. Many people are also interested in solar panels because they help, you know, generate cheaper electricity for your EV. Local businesses might also be interested in participating in your event. They can sponsor it and have a booth. So just be open and try to think of related organizations that might be interesting booths at your event. And another option is to have a variety of EVs. Think outside the box. So you can bring electric bikes, motorcycles, buses. There really are a lot of electric vehicle demonstrations out there. Also, cities often have like police fleets or bus fleets that are electric and might be willing to show those off at your event, which would be also a cool attraction just for people to take rides on them and see how quiet they are. Then some other options. Some of these were already said, but you can also have workshops, local food trucks, live music, policy announcements. Really, this event is yours. Be creative and have fun with it. Some resources for you are the Electric Driveway Party Guide. So the Electric Driveway Party is meant to be a very basic start to holding your first event. The idea is you invite your neighbors and maybe a few local EV owners to your house, you know, your driveway. Maybe hold a barbecue, just talk to people about EVs, very small way and a good way to have your first event. We have other resources on driveelectricweek.org. So if you go to our resources page, we offer templates, advice for throwing your event, reaching out to media, basically everything in the webinar and more you can find on this page. We also provide information about the Nissan City Captain Kit. So as I'm sure you know, the Nissan Leaf is the official sponsor of National Drive Electric Week, and they offer a City Captain Kit for all captains. It hasn't been finalized yet, but we expect them to include a banner, directional signs, t-shirts, and promotional items. So this is something you can register for free that will really make your event stand out as a professional event. All right, Mary, I think this is you.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Kylie. So one fun part about National Drive Electric Week is that NDEW can actually last all year. And we created a webinar about that exact full topic about a month ago when we had the first webinar on our webinar series devoted to this subject. But this is a quick reminder that National Drive Electric Week doesn't have to be just within that 1 week of the year. It really can build momentum to expand clean transportation in our communities and in our states and across regions by really connecting with local elected or public officials to be aware of your event and to attend your event, even to speak at your event, and maybe even make amazing policy announcements at your event. And the time is really now to start building in that direction if that is an interest of yours. And you can do it in really 3 easy steps. The first step, of course, is to invite your elected officials, or even just your public officials. They don't have to be elected at all. They can actually be appointed, or even a leader at a utility company, anyone that has a stake who plays a role in bringing clean transportation into our communities and supporting them through any kind of policies or programs. You could be transit agencies even who want to make announcements that they plan to adopt electric buses in their community. It could be local city council members that want to make a proclamation that that week is National Drive Electric Week and they commit to cleaner transportation in their cities, maybe their government fleets. So just knowing that you can invite them, open the conversation up, let them know that you would love for them to be involved in some way. So that invitation is step 1. Number 2 is really building the relationships, having a conversation, doing a little research into what those stakeholders or those leaders really care about, or maybe what they've already done to bring clean transportation into your community, and maybe even just reaching out to them and educating them. Not everyone knows that electric cars are on our roads, or maybe they only think Teslas are on our roads. Maybe they have no idea that electric buses are a possibility right now and are starting to gain a lot of momentum. So just having those conversations and building those relationships is super key to starting to see additional policies and programs be introduced in your state and in your city. And one really great way to start those conversations is by using our Model EV Policy Toolkit that we originally created, both Sierra Club and Plug in America together last year. I think it was last summer. We did the 1.0 version. And since then, we have updated it to be expanded and to include a whole host of additional model policies and programs that are proven to help advance clean transportation, specifically electric vehicles and their infrastructure in our communities. And so it's going to be released very soon. But you can, in fact, tomorrow it will be ready. And so that's something that you can use with you as you go and to have these conversations and meet with your public officials. You can reference the policies and programs that maybe are already in existence or which your community truly needs given the specific, the specifics of your community and your town. Next slide, please. So the 2.0 version that's going to be released tomorrow, the best practices that we cover are listed right here on your screen. We include how to expand perks and incentives with electric vehicles. We go into electrifying vehicle fleets. So that can be government city fleets as well as transit fleets. We talk about how to expand charging access. There's a lot of different subcategories in that particular section, really new cutting edge policies like allowing people to plug into street lamps so that they can easily find a place to charge up while they're on the go. We also go into evaluating EV registration fees and make a pretty strong case against them, which you can use in your community or state if ever needed. And we talk about the importance of expanding equity and access when it comes to electric vehicles and clean transportation, and what those model policies and programs are that really center disadvantaged communities and their particular needs and interests. And then we also go into promoting consumer education and protection. And we're really excited to share that with you all tomorrow. Look in your inbox for the recording to this webinar, as well as a link to view the Model Policy Toolkit. Next slide, please. We have an invitation on the National Drive Electric Week website that you can download and customize to send to your local public official. Everything in yellow is the area that you can customize to be specific to who you're addressing and what your title is, where you live, and a description about the type of event that you are organizing, so that they find it to be interesting and are compelled to participate. You can find it on the NDEW site under the resources page, and then you just scroll down to additional resources, and then to files and to local support. But again, tomorrow, when we share the recording with you, we'll also attach this so that it's something easily accessible to you. But if anyone has questions about where to find this at any point, you are welcome to reach out to myself or Kylie. Next slide, please. At the very least, having a elected or a public official attend your event and make a proclamation, a city proclamation, it's really easy to do, and we find that public officials are happy to do these. Events in Somerville, Wellesley, and Southborough, Massachusetts, just a couple years ago, they had state officials make proclamations. Last year, we had the governor of Washington State issue a whole state proclamation that that particular day of the event was National Drive Electric Day. And we also had the mayor of Boise, Idaho issue a similar proclamation. We had many proclamations, though, over the last year or two, which we've just really started to track a little more closely, and it's pretty impressive. It's also a really great media hook. That knowing that this is going to happen is something that gets the media really interested, and they'll come to your event to cover that story. Next slide, please. All right, I'm excited to introduce our first guest speaker, perhaps our only guest speaker. I'm not totally sure yet, but we have Regine.
Patrick has made it on, I believe.
That's Brad. Great. Well, we will be happy to hear from Patrick later on after Regine. So this is Regine Fellows. She is the president of the Electric Auto Association, and she also participates in the San Diego National Drive Electric Week event, which is where we both live. We're both residents of San Diego. And last year, the San Diego National Drive Electric Week event was the largest in the country. It actually was larger than LA for the first time, which is a feather in our caps. So after 23 years of being a really successful entrepreneur in the staffing industry, Regine's second career has been really devoted to nonprofits. She headed up the volunteer area of a large land preserve in Scottsdale, Arizona, and she guided the board in policies that positively impacted a growing group of stewards of the land. She wanted a retirement lifestyle that eliminated fossil fuels in her home and car, and with her solar roof and her Kia Soul EV, she's fulfilled her dream. Regine joined the San Diego chapter of the Electric Auto Association in 2018, and she has recently taken on the role of the president of the entire Electric Auto Association, the national EAA. Regine is honored to lead the EAA as their president, especially at a time when the movement towards clean transportation is gaining exciting momentum. So with that, I will give it over to you, Regine. You can unmute yourself. I'll unmute you. Let's see if that works. Regine, can
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Kylie. Thank you, Mary and Boy, National Drive Electric Week is kind of how I started my EV journey, attending one for the first time. And, I'll just tell a quick story of, San Diego Gas and Electric was running it. It was in this parking lot in a mall, an outdoor mall, and they had assigned an area as an EV tailgate area so that EV owners were bringing their cars in, and they encouraged them to hang out by their EVs and talk to the EV curious. And I wandered over, and there was a fella with a Mercedes, the B class, opening up, the hood and talking about the Tesla parts and just kind of beaming about his EV. And I just can't tell you what a difference that made to kind of put a personal face on the experience of driving electric. So different from what we experience in the car dealerships. Really a person who's talking from personal experience with such an authentic voice. And I saw the power in that. And later when I joined I needed to know more. And so I joined Electric Vehicle Association of San Diego. And there were a whole host of people who owned EVs and answered my questions. And so it was National Drive Electric that got me into that. And still today, I believe that, what Electric Auto Association is, that for those of you who may not know, is we're a 50-year-old, we're actually the oldest and largest nonprofit in the EV world with over 80 chapters, and been in business since 1967. And we're known for our EV owner educators. Now we've taken it to another level, and our members who get out with their vehicles, just giving of their own time, engaging the public, are very knowledgeable, and often way more knowledgeable than the people at dealerships. So this is a very, very important element in any National Drive Electric event. SDG&E has given us larger and larger amounts of space to display vehicles and get out there. And the difference with the chapter people is they will stay by their cars all day long, whereas some people who might just come to the event in their EV, hang out for a bit, and then they leave. So what I'm going to make the case for now is that those of you who are not chapter, don't belong to a chapter, that all you need to do is to go on to the electricauto.org site and look at our chapter map, click on the state that you're in, and find the chapter that's closest to you. Reach out to those people and try to engage them in your event, because they're free, they're knowledgeable, and they're EV enthusiasts. So they can be a huge asset to any event. So that's the point that I want to make most, as well as for the fact that having had a career in sales and marketing, for anyone to buy anything, they have to first mentally possess it. And the closest thing to that is the test drive. And the next closest thing to it is the static display of EVs with people touching and feeling and getting in the cars. So when we look at all the efforts that we make towards trying to get people to actually realize that they need to own an EV, these are the most highly leveraged. Anytime you can get somebody to test drive or sit in a seat, touch the vehicle, and then of course talk to a knowledgeable owner, these are the things that are at a closest correlation to them actually buying. And that's really what we want. We have to remember an event is really there to get people to buy more cars, irrespective of, it's great to have public officials, it's great, all of the things count, but these are some of the things that are very highly leveraged. So I wanted to encourage you to do that. I love what you said about including some conversions. We have a guy that converted a Ferrari, and that always gets a ton. And when you reach out to these chapters, you will find people, usually old guys, who have done, and some of them are doing conversion projects, with sons, but you will find the most interesting cars that you can include in your lineup of static display. So yes, increasing the numbers. I think this is wonderful. And I think also I will mention things I have heard from our chapters in warm climates, that it's hard for, if the weather is too hot, these outdoor events can be difficult in September. And as Mary and Kylie said, we want to do all year long. But I would encourage those movie events and things that can be indoors. Don't give up. Just switch it to panel discussions and some kind of interesting program that's inside. And as you look at the slide, you're going to see that the group of people there, that's our EV owner educators. We all wear, these white polo shirts, and the little green buttons say, "Ask me about my EV." And then we have these little waste things that have electric auto on them, and we can throw our cell phone in there and brochures, so we can be hands-free as we're walking people around the cars. The other thing that we do that we found is very good visually is you'll see the picture of the big drive electric flags signs. Those cost about, I think, $350. You can get them from Vistaprint. And when we line up our cars, we bookend them with these flags, and that shows people that that's a display. It's like a museum of EVs, with interpreters ready, standing by to explain to people what they're looking at. Also, I love what you said about variety, and we have a Zero motorcycle, which at Zero is an all-electric motorcycle that that was very popular. So yeah, it's wonderful to be part of this, and I hope that I've given a couple of pointers on what we've noticed works at a National Drive Electric Day event.
Thank you, Regine. How many members do you have at a part of Electric Auto Association?
We're over 1,000 members, and we actually have members in Egypt, Ghana, and Copenhagen. So we actually are all over the world, largely in the United States.
Oh, that's fantastic. And what advice would you give to people who are listening right now on how to reach out to their local EAA group to invite them to become involved in their NDEW event?
Oh, well, they're usually ready, ripe for the asking. I think you'll find a very welcoming group there. And I also want to point out there is a chapter liaison. You can also call or email Charles Garina, who's out of Richmond, Virginia EVA, and he's what we call our chapter liaison. So he's kind of the link to all of the chapters, and he can be reached on chapter voices at electricauto.org. And so that is Charles. And then just go on our website, electricauto.org, and look at the chapter map and pull it down, and then you'll see a little pop-up of the different chapters that would be available, say in Texas. You'll see a North Texas one, which is Dallas. You'll see Houston there, and you just pick the one that's closest to you. And if you have any question about that at all, just contact Charles or myself. You can reach me at president@electricauto.org. We're really happy to help. This is what we live for. We wake up wanting to engage the public. This is our most important activity that we do, and when our members just feel so gratified that they've had a chance to make a difference in people's perception, which, as we all know, there's a lot of misperceptions about EVs, not the least of which they're too expensive or charging, all that kind of thing. And the good thing about our members is they're generally, pretty well trained on messaging. And another thing that we do before an NDEW event, even though our event has been in San Diego here, run by San Diego Gas Electric, we have a call-in phone orientation for all of our, EV owner educators, which would be 25 to 30 people at the National Drive Day. And at that, we make sure everybody knows about incentives, why EV, how they combat climate change, how they clean up our air, which EV for my lifestyle, all the typical kinds of questions that come up, and we're ready to answer them. So I would highly recommend that you do that kind of orientation for your volunteers prior to the event. to make sure the knowledge base is there. Because after all, we want the engagement of the public to really make it easy for them to make it over to the light side, as I say.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much, Regine. I appreciate all of your comments and your participation here. I just realized we're due for our third and last poll before we get to Patrick, our other presenter. So I'm going to just launch it real quickly. So the question is, have you reached out to a public official about participating in NDEW? You can select yes or not yet, but I plan to, or no, or you're not decided yet. And it looks like 37% so far is yes, 11% undecided, 26% no, 31% not yet, but they plan to. And we have about an 86% of you all voted. It's not too bad. Better than the primary elections that we just had. All right, that's awesome. So 34% yes. I'm going to close the poll and share the results real quick. So there's the results. All right, and now we will introduce Patrick. Kylie? Hey, Kylie, are you there? Uh-oh. we may be having some technical difficulties again, folks.
Hi, sorry, I am back. Okay.
Hi, Kylie.
Are we ready for our next guest speaker?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Patrick Lawson, CEO of Wild West EV. I explained in the beginning that he runs a family-owned company, Wild West EV, that places public EV charging stations around Wyoming. He is an EV and technology enthusiast, and he runs an internet service provider in the middle of Wyoming called Wind River Internet. Patrick, go ahead.
Oh, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Awesome.
Hey, all right. Yeah, so thank you so much for inviting me to join and just kind of share my experience. I live out in the middle of Wyoming where there's not a whole lot of EVs. I'm actually on a trip right now into Denver, and we're at a Tesla supercharger in Laramie with two other Teslas.
Great. So can you talk a little bit about your experience as a city captain and some lessons you learned?
Sure. Yeah, so I've been wanting to get more people in the area interested in EVs, and I saw that I actually went to an event over in Colorado, and I wanted to find out more of how I could do this, if there was any going on in Wyoming, and I saw nobody else was doing it, so I thought I should do it. And that's kind of where I got started, was just kind of looking on message boards and things, trying to find out if there was any other people interested in putting one together, and ultimately I ended up deciding to hold one myself.
Great. And how did you find people to help staff the event, and what were your first steps in organizing it? We're hoping, or at least I'm hoping, that some people here have never put on an event before, and maybe are wondering where to start.
Well, my first step was I needed to get a location for me, and around the same time, this is where I was also looking at starting up my little Wild West EV company to put public charging stations around. So I was able to ask one of the locations that is putting a public charging station in and use that as the grand opening for the charging network for Wyoming.
Great. All right. Do you have anything else to say, or I think we might be moving on to questions?
No, I guess that's it for now.
All right. Thanks so much, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick. Yeah, so it looks like we have a few questions in the question box. If you haven't shared one yet, you still can. Just go ahead and type it in the on the right-hand side. I'm looking through what's already there, and let's see. There's actually like a lot of non-questions because there's a chat box also down at the very bottom, but it seems that they've been combined. There's just lots of chatter in the questions box. So I'm trying to find the questions. Janelle asks or says, we are planning to do an EV parade through town. Has that been done before? That's a great idea for an NDEW event, and we definitely have seen NDEW parades. I know that Hawaii, there's an event in Hawaii that does it pretty much every year, and they have a great set of photos of the procession of EVs that go through town. They get a lot of people looking and interested because they see a huge procession of electric cars with banners and people honking and waving, and it's pretty cool. I love that idea. So that's great that you plan to do that, Janelle. Definitely take great photos so that we can share them afterwards. And it looks like Maria asks, will the slides be available somewhere we can look at and reference later? Definitely. We post all of our webinars, the recordings of them, on YouTube, and we will share the recording and the link to view it with everyone who RSVP'd. Actually, just everyone on our list. I'm sure that we will share it with everyone. Let's see here. Elvia asks, how can I get my local State Sierra Club more involved? It's a great question. And we have so many Sierra Club chapters that are involved in NDEW every year. Others, they have limited capacity. So it's a little different from state to state and year to year. But based on your state, I don't know where you live, Elvia, but you should definitely reach out and contact me because I would love to be a liaison with your state chapter for the Sierra Club and get that conversation going and inspire them to participate in some way. It'll be dependent upon their capacity, but there's lots of options for how a Sierra Club chapter can get involved. They can either help organize, which many of our chapters do. They can recruit volunteers to help at the very minimum. And they can definitely spread the word. Many of our chapters, if not most, spread the word about National Drive Electric Week to kind of get people to know about it and to attend.
And then I see another question about previously NPR around paid spots about NDEW. Will these take place this year? This just brings to my attention a point about reaching out to media. On the resources page of driveelectricweek.org, you can find templates for reaching out to media. So we make it easy. You basically just fill in basic information about your event, like location and time. And again, if you have a city official coming, it's a great way to get the media's attention. So be sure to start that relatively early. The media usually want to hear about events maybe only a week before they're happening because they're covering the latest news. So you definitely don't have to start sending those out as early as with public official invites.
Kylie, can you proceed to the next slide so everyone can see our contact information for how they can reach us with further questions?
Yeah.
Oh, darn it. That's only got my information on there. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it's a minor issue. So in the chat, which hopefully everyone can see, I put my email if you need to reach me. It's kmorgan, that's KMORGAN @pluginamerica.org.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so we have a few other questions. One question is, what are the best techniques for getting car dealers to agree to test drives? And that is a really good question because it reminds me that I wanted to mention that we are having 2 additional webinars before National Drive Electric Week happens, devoted to that very topic. We have the next webinar that we have planned will be in, I believe it's going to be early August. and it's going to be on the topic of the ride and drives. We're going to go right into that topic and answer everyone's questions and details related to that specific topic. And then we're going to have the last webinar will be, I believe it's going to be in, no, that one's going to be in early August. It's going to be on media engagement. The whole webinar will be focused on how to engage with your local media and all the tips and resources for using using social media and reaching out to your local print and your local radio stations, every kind of media that exists. Basically, we will have templates and tips and resources for that. So stay tuned for invitations to those 2 webinars.
Yeah, and then I see another great question is, can we have more than one event in the same city? You can definitely have more than one event. One thing you want to look out for, though, is not scheduling those events on the same day, or in a similar area. So a city, maybe hold at opposite ends of the city or hold them on separate weekends. You really don't want to deplete each other's audiences, because then you'll both end up with very few attendees. So also, if you're doing an event in the same city as another city captain, I can work with you to connect you to the other city captain so you guys can communicate and coordinate your events.
Great, perfect. One question is, what is the most popular location to hold a National Drive Electric Week event? Well, that's a really good question. I don't know if we've taken a poll to determine what is the most frequent type of location, but they're so varied. Here in San Diego, it's a large event, and so it's held in the parking lot of the Qualcomm Stadium. It's a lot of land area that can be used for the ride and drives and the exhibitors. Other places have them where there's high traffic areas that are already going to be planned, like farmers markets. That's really popular. People know that they can set up an area at a farmers market during NDEW, knowing that they will have a lot of people come by walking through, and will be able to check out the cars and be interested in perhaps doing a ride and drive if that's an offer or an element that's being offered at that particular event. So beyond that, there's also, last year we had a huge increase in the number of driveway parties. We were really shooting for having events in all 50 states, and a great way to do that is to let people know that they can have a community event with their neighbors if they just have a few EVs parked in the driveway and on their street with some signage and some flyers, let people know about it, have some refreshments and music. And we had a record number of events. It was, I believe it was 276, just shy of 300, and it was great. We had a lot of positive feedback about those types of events. Very different than a large event at a stadium parking lot, but nonetheless impactful, more intimate, really cool for a lot of reasons. Yeah, so those are some good venue suggestions, but you can also work with your local city, like Office of State Sustainability. They might be able to offer some space or know of some space, and maybe even help support your event. So that's just a few ideas there.
Yeah, and then Mary, if it's okay for another question here.
Mm-hmm.
So the question has, this year's individual local events registration already opened up for city captains? So yes, anyone who wants to organize an event this year can go on driveelectricweek.org, go to the volunteer tab, and then you can register your events. It's already open, so feel free to go there and register now. You can also register to volunteer for an event or register to attend any of the existing events.
Perfect, thank you. Daryl asks, what kind of work have you done with houses of worship? Well, I know that some events are held in the parking lots of churches. The event in Watts, California, which is a suburb of Los Angeles, they have their event in the parking lot of a church. So that's certainly a venue idea that you can consider when you're trying to find a place to host it.
Yep, and then we have a question here about, oh, sorry, what was that?
No, go ahead.
So we have a question here about panelists and what are some examples of, who the panelists would be or panel discussions to hold at your events. So some examples would be longtime EV owners who can just tell the public, how much is their electricity bill every month, how many miles does the EV get them? For a daily commute, how much are they spending on fuel every week? These are common questions that a lot of your attendees will not know the answer to. They, often won't know even the basics about EVs. What powers them? How do I charge them? Where are the charging stations? How do I know where to find the charging stations? So you can have a panel on that, or even just a PowerPoint presentation. Other options, of course, are professors who have studied EV market research and see where the market is heading. Anyone really who has studied EVs and the technology and vehicle market could be an interesting speaker. It's really use what's at your disposal in your community.
Oh yeah, that's a great, I love that question because we've had a few panels and they've gone very well. They seemed well attended and really interested by the audience as well. But there's so many directions that you could take it in terms of who is on the panel. I would suggest considering a representative from your local utility but based on whether or not there's good programs in place in your community that they can speak to, if there's existing work or efforts underway that they can talk to you, such as special rate designs for people who own EVs. There's a huge increase in policies and programs that are passed related to EV utility. And if you ever have questions related to that, feel free to please contact me because I'd be happy to go into more detail about that. Definitely reaching out to elected officials or public officials to be on the panel to talk about the existing body of work that they've done, the importance of clean transportation in your community that they can speak about personally and professionally. Definitely have someone from the Sierra Club come and be on that panel. We have chapters in every single state and groups, multiple groups within those states, people who are transportation chairs who are devoted to clean transportation and can definitely come and talk on such a panel. You could also have companies that install solar. They can speak about the relationship between clean energy and clean transportation, clean cars. And you could even have a representative from a local dealership. So if you live in an area that that there's a local car dealership that has EVs in stock, they offer EV test drives, they have perhaps a EV specialist on staff, definitely have that person come and be invited to speak about their experiences selling EVs. That might be a good idea too. So yeah, great question. Let's see, we have a few more. Let's see here. What's the next one? There's a few coming in, and I want to select a good one. Okay, this is a good question. Would you consider having a second National Drive Electric Week event during Earth Day festivals across America? We get 300,000 to 50,000 people for our 2-day event here in St. Louis, Missouri. Kylie, do you want to talk to that point about some of the plans underway for Earth Day and National Drive Electric Week?
Yes, that's an awesome on-point question. We're actually working on developing kind of a separate, it wouldn't be NDEW, but it would be the same idea as NDEW centered around Earth Day. So we're hoping to create a whole different branding and website for people to sign up their events, just like you do for NDEW, but it would specifically be for events around Earth Day. So we're working on that for next year, and hopefully we'll have it ready and everyone can be signing up. We know a lot of people have trouble hosting events in September due to weather issues and just because it's more convenient to do it at a different time of the year. So we're hoping this Earth Day Drive Electric, we don't actually have a title yet, this Earth Day Drive Electric will work out for a lot of people.
Cool, great, thank you so much for that. So we're going to have to wrap up our Q&A. There's still some questions that we haven't answered, so rest assured we will follow up with you tomorrow to everyone who had a question that we didn't get a chance to answer. So thank you for everyone who showed up. This was a great turnout. We had amazing questions. We We had fantastic presenters. Thank you so much to Pat and Regine and to Kylie for helping to transition the slides and all her help in creating the presentation. And we will certainly be following up with you with all the links and information and resources and answering your questions. So thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Take care, everyone.